to
man,
see
I'm
you.
looking to see here, man.
How are you?
I want to see that Baja right there.
Let's see it. Let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look at it, man.
So on the Baja, what we did is a couple things. So you see Primal came out with their new solid axle. So what we did, simple design, very simple. We went ahead and put a 10 millimeter shaft through a locker. So if you have a locker inside here, you either have a Roven locker or a vertical locker, it's 10 millimeters inside.
Okay.
So we put a 10 millimeter axle through it, and there's 4 locking set screws on flat spots for that shaft.
Okay.
And then outside here, hey Kiki, outside here there's a hub. And the hub actually bolts onto the tire itself. Can you just pull that wheel off for me? So the hub will bolt onto a standard BRP tire.
Okay.
And that hub locks onto that 10 millimeter shaft. Now, anybody that drag races knows an IRS suspension is not as, I guess, strong as a solid axle. You need a solid axle if you're drag racing. If you're off-roading, you need suspension, you need all that. And some people are asking, well, what suspension do you have on this? Well, the sidewalls of the suspension. Feel these tires. These are the Series 8 BRPs, right?
Yep.
Now feel these new BRPs.
Oh, wow.
Big difference.
Big difference.
So what happened is the host foam, we changed the chemistry. This is the host foam.
Completely different.
Completely different. But
Completely
we
different.
could use these foams on a street car like this. So this is the hub. This is it. Simple design. This,
Now these work with regular BRPs, right?
absolutely. That's it.
Nice.
I could adjust how far in, how far out.
Oh man,
That's it.
that's great.
So that's
great.
the entire setup.
That's
So
real great, man.
that's what we built on it. The car weighs about 18 pounds, and this is a RC Max 40 GT inside there.
Very nice.
So the other thing we did is we did put airplane wheels in the front,
Okay.
just for the speed, so it holds up. Then a lot of people were asking, well, what's this about? Why is that thing pivoting in the front there? So I'll explain it. It's actually a mechanical gyro. It self-corrects itself.
Very nice.
If there's more force on one side, it'll push down on the other side. That's all it does. And it's pivoting. Inside here, there are springs.
Okay.
And we could adjust the tension inside with those 2 springs.
Very cool.
So a little bit of technology behind this one. Couple other things, you know, we went ahead and the carburetor is a WJ71, so it's a big car.
Okay.
And we go ahead and poured it out, so it's 22 millimeters. Stock is 18, so it does very well. But that's the setup. I mean, it's a very simple design. You don't need arms. If you're drag racing, this is the way you have to go. And you'll see Primal come out with
Now the wheels
similar.
are new diameter too. Are they still the same size or
These are 6-inch diameter.
6-inch diameter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to use 6-inch because of the gearing.
Okay.
You could go down a little bit, 5 3/4.
There's about 7 coming out.
There is a 7.
There's
You
a
can.
7.
This is 7 1/4.
Okay.
The only concern is your acceleration is going to suffer if you go up in size.
Okay.
So you gotta find out.
This car, there's a 7-inch rubber tire.
On that
You
side,
gotta
okay.
you gotta figure out what works for you.
What track, what weight,
Exactly.
everything. Yeah,
So-
everything's different for every car, for every track.
For Baja, I personally think the 7 is a little bit too much for the car. I think a 6-inch is perfect.
I was looking to do the 7 on my Primal Dragster,
How much distance you're racing?
the 330.
Yeah, you can.
It'll have a lot of top end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll give you some top end. So that's
With the lower wheels, my wheelie bar is on the ground.
yeah. So
That's
you're gonna
the
have to go.
problem, Yeah.
Honestly, I think you should try these foams.
We've tried foams on that exact track.
Yeah.
Vern,
Yeah.
he tried our foams and it worked.
It works
amazing.
really good. You prep them with CRC belt dressing, just to spray on it. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah, and depending on how sticky the track is, there's certain compounds you put on it to release or gain traction. So that car uses BRPs. That big one behind you. So
This
that
one
big
right
one does 0 to 85 miles an hour in 1.8 seconds.
Very
And
nice.
it uses BRPs. You can feel those too.
I have a little clip of this one actually running. You're doing a test hit with this one.
Yeah.
But I think you made some changes since then too.
We did. So it's a little bit lighter than it was before, and a little bit more power.
Is it still a 65 in there?
It's kind of like a 65. We went down in size but increased compression. So It's right around 60-ish, but the compression is very, very high for a big block. So, and then we're using a wacky fuel on it. So it's able to get down the track. It does very well. We looked at the tapes, the car is still spinning. So doing 0 to 85 miles an hour in 1.8 seconds, that was spinning down the track. So in theory, it should do it in 1.7, if it hooks. So, and then we have the new electric car that will beat that. It'll demolish it. The electric car will probably do it in 1.4 seconds to 100 miles an hour. So, but I like gas, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The RC Max motor, I've tried every motor that's out there. The RC Max motor is by far very, very superior, but also user-friendly. I don't have to do too much to it. I tune it once or twice, and that's it. I leave it alone, and it goes. So it works out very well. You just have to find the right carburetor for it. Yes, I'll show you. So Walbro, we talked about it. They patented. Walbro hasn't had a patent in many, many years. So they just recently came out with a patent a couple of years ago. It's been 40 years since Walbro has a patent. And one of the things that they're doing now is they came out, it's a new diaphragm. So I've been using the diaphragm for about 2.5 years. We've tested it for Walbro, and it works incredibly well. So what's different about it? The response time. It's absolutely amazing in terms of the throttle response. And why is that? Yeah, so the kit is, if you want to see that, the kit is K3 WYTA, and that's for all your standard 990s, 1107s.
All your standard size carburetors.
So that's what it'll work. The big carburetors, they're still on development, but this will work on your standard carburetors. It's kind of we'll have to do a tutorial on how to install this.
Okay, yeah.
Because you will have to change a couple of parts inside. The diaphragm itself, you know, you're all accustomed to a rubber diaphragm. And anything that has ethanol inside will eat away at that rubber and give away at the pliability of how the rubber functions. So when that happens, then the response time suffers because that rubber is not working properly. So what Walbro did is they made almost like a slinky. So you can think of a slinky. It's a stainless steel diaphragm that's very thin that moves back and forth. And there's mylar that's used in between it, and that mylar is actually impervious to any ethanol-based fuels. Now, we use some crazy fuels in our racing, and we had to test this for many years to see if it works on the fuels. The fuels we use are all legal, but they take it to the extreme. So when you are installing this, you can see there's a metal diaphragm, there's 2 mylar gaskets that's there, that's plastic, that's impervious to ethanol, methanol, whatever base is out there. And then, so that means that spring diaphragm in there, it'll go up and down, and it's more reactive than a rubber diaphragm.
I've seen this little kit they have on this to help you put it in.
Yeah, so this is
perfectly, right?
Yeah, you know, we have to do a little thing on if I had a carburetor, I'll show you how to do it. But it's kind of you have to have the right tools and take the right time. But you actually do leave the paper clip in there, and you would pull that out.
Pull it out after you put the lid on.
That's right. Yeah. So you do have to change. You do have to change a couple parts in there, and you are going to utilize your gauge, and you're going to use this side to dictate what's the clearance. And you know, we'll
spiral on it.
So we'll have to do that another show, you know, but you'll see, and you put on the top and just measure the clearance and where the arm is set.
Okay.
And then you bolt back on the carburetor, put the top on, and you're ready to go. It works just like a regular carburetor. It's just that the response time is much better, and it also lasts longer since this is not a rubber material.
This is a great way for everybody to upgrade their carburetor.
100%.
And the availability of these, you know how
They're available. Yeah, so we've tested them for a long time. They're available. Contact Walbro. It's about $20 for the kit, but you know, we'll do a video to go through how to put it on so you don't have any issues and challenges. But it is very straightforward, and trust me, it works. You know, we've done it on a few cars now for the past 2.5, 3 years, and very, very impressive. The other thing is, when you are cleaning out your carburetors, you should do it very frequently, maybe twice a year. But you know, you want to don't use some of the stuff that you get from the auto parts shop, because what's going to happen is you're going to damage those gaskets. So use a Walbro cleaner. You know, you have a lot of gaskets in there on the bottom and the top. It's going to damage and eat away at those gaskets. And any air leak you have, it's going to cost you ET and time. So use a Walbro cleaner when you're taking apart that gasket, and put it in a little basket and kind of clean it out, blow it out. You'll be absolutely fine. So that's some of the new stuff that's out from Walbro. We'll do a video though.
Yep.
We'll go through it. We'll take apart an old car. We'll put in the new diaphragm. We'll start the car up, and we'll kind of listen to the response time and how it does.
Right, I'll link that video below if everybody else wants to see. All right, but thanks for your time, Arnold.
My pleasure. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.